Yeah, we are on. This is InvinciBullTV. That's InvinciBull for Bull City, where the gods are immortal and the people are unstoppable. I'm your host, IB Einstein, the local leader in black media. That's IB because I am that I am in soul, and Einstein because I am a development of intelligence in my human experience. And we also got J Martin joining us today.
What's going on, B-Toes?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. So, you know, we got this, what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the shooting that happened in South Carolina.
Okay.
And, so, first few ground things is, it's a symptom of what's been going on in the media, in the black media, in the underground media. We've been talking about white supremacy and institutional racism.
Yes.
And so now that it's being brought up in Hollywood, with Isaiah Washington saying it, and the word is actually coming out of people's mouths in Hollywood, and it's starting to be on the national news.
Right.
That means that it has got everybody's attention and ears, and so when it hits there, it's kind of late. It means at its peak.
Right, exactly.
And when something's at its peak, it has a downfall after that.
Right.
So the
Outcasts call it Hollywood divorce.
Yeah, so the downfall wouldn't be that people would stop talking about it. It would be co-opted.
Right.
And so the problem I see with bringing it up is creating a defeatist mentality.
Okay.
Because people are on some, well, if white supremacy is the cause of this and it's this strong and we blame it for this and blame it for that, it's like, why do it? Why even try?
Right.
To empower yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So
the boogeyman just gonna jump from under the bed and stop you every time you try.
Yeah. So like we gotta have a dialogue about it to combat this defeatist mentality and not become polarized over it.
Right.
As a people, because Martin Luther King said that you have to be able to integrate with yourself as an individual to then be able to integrate with other people in your race.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got some people that deny it and doesn't want to see the causes and results of institutional racism. But then people that are empowering themselves don't really talk about it no more, because the focus has shifted for the people that know that that's a given and deal with the world as it is, and then some people blame it on everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why are we in this position? Because of the white man, or why I can't get a job because of the white man, or
Yeah.
And the results are there, but when you keep blaming it on that, you can't bring yourself up out of your own muck and mire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have an opinion on that?
As far as white supremacy is concerned, I think that we need to start focusing on the people and start focusing on the system.
Yeah.
A system is in place. You have to defeat the system with your finances.
Yeah.
And the way to defeat the system with your finances is creating your own media.
Yeah.
Here. And doing your own thing in business and doing your own ventures.
Yeah.
And that's the way to empower yourself. It's all about empowering yourself and not focusing on the boogeyman under the bed.
Yeah. Would you like to be good for you to like define it?
Define the system?
Yeah.
The system is one of those things where you have an institution or a people or just a part of society that doesn't want you to succeed, and focusing on that only leads to your downfall. I would say. So when you have something that wants to stop you and you focus on the thing that wants to stop you, you're probably going to be stopped. I could equate that to playing a sport. If you're playing a sport and you're focused on the person that you're playing, one, that is a good thing because you're playing that person.
Yeah.
But focusing too much on what that person is doing is going to stop you from executing.
Yeah.
And when you're not able to execute, that person is already winning.
Yeah.
Before you even step on the court.
Yeah.
So the thing that we have to worry about in this society or in this system that we're in is the execution.
Yeah.
We have to worry about execution for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's how you win the game.
Right.
You don't win the game by focusing on the other team. You win the game by executing.
Yeah, and it's like we took it and created our own devil with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it's like being a Christian. Like, you can be so focused on the devil that you never get focused on Christ.
Or never get focused on the goal, which is making it into heaven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or you miss when you're so focused on the devil, you're so focused on what it's doing to you that you start to victimize yourself from your head.
Exactly.
Instead of just focusing on your execution.
Right.
And so you're supposed to be executing the process of becoming more like Christ.
More like Christ. Exactly.
So like for example, we have poverty in our community, and poverty is a social condition that's created by people, and it was created through institutional racism and white supremacy. So when people were like, why are we in this poverty? Why are we in the projects? And somebody say the white man. Right. I mean, we can't really blame it on that anymore. No. I mean, because we're in there and that's a given. So what are we going to do about it?
How you going to get out?
Yeah. So that's what we need to shift the focus on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The execution of getting out.
The execution of getting out.
Yes.
And that's what we mean by empower.
Empower.
Yeah. So back to the shooting. Okay. And police brutality is been happening in the community for hundreds of years, but now the media is getting focused on it. Right. And now it's been noted by the United Nations. The United Nations has a committee on the elimination of racial discrimination. Okay. And they came out in August and condemned the law enforcement in the United States for the way that it treats black people and other minorities. Right. So they've come out and condemned it. So this is something that we have accused other countries of. Yes. And definitely backed it with military force, but nobody's coming at us with military force to our aid. Right. So it's internationally recognized of the atrocities and the abuses by law enforcement in America. Right. So what happened was on April 7th in North Charleston, South Carolina, had Walter Scott. Right. He was supposedly pulled over. He was pulled over for busted tail light. Busted tail light, yes. Supposedly. Supposedly. When you look at the dash cam, the tail light wasn't busted. I heard. Okay. Yeah, but whatever. But he had warrants for child support. Okay. All right. And so he got in a scuffle with the police officer. Yes. And he took off running.
Well, we can't really call that running, but
yeah, well, mile jog or whatever. Yeah. But the police shot him in the back. Yes. 7 times. Yes. And then tried to plant the taser beside him, saying that he shot him because he tried to take his taser. Right. Right. According to what's come out in the police report. That's what the police report said. Okay. But then the video surfaced after the report. Yes. And he would have got away with it if it wasn't for this video. If it wasn't for a cameraman, he wouldn't have got away with it. Yeah. So things that people say. All right. So we have like insurmountable evidence, and the media is still trying to pump doubt. And the media is still trying to criminalize the victim as a distraction. Exactly. And now people begin to this narrative keeps playing out. Yes. And people start to view the victim as the criminal. Yes. And people will say stuff like, well, why did he run? Right. As if shooting somebody in the back for running is justification. I call it the CSI effect. What's that? The CSI effect is, okay, you know how when you're watching Law and Order or CSI, they always show you the criminal first. Yeah. They show you the act of violence first. Okay. So then, in turn, when you see the police do all this stuff that is against the laws set forth to protect people in those instances, like you see them go
go upside the person's head or hold them in interrogation for hours upon hours. You don't say anything is wrong because you already saw the act of violence.
Yeah.
And whatever they can do to catch this person is good in your eyes because you saw the act of violence.
Yeah.
So as long as you're being portrayed as violent or as long as you're being portrayed as a criminal, it's like no reason for anybody to say anything bad about the police officers because you're already being portrayed or you're already thought of as a criminal.
So
that's the CSI fit.
So the funny thing about this, not funny, but the ironic thing is when I saw this one, I didn't get mad.
Me either.
It's like I'm losing the space for it. I'm not numb to it, but it doesn't fit into my capacity to feel something because now I'm in do something about it mode and I'm thinking clearly and logical about it. But it didn't, like the Mike Brown shooting angered me.
Right.
But this one didn't.
I didn't get angry about the Mike Brown thing.
Okay.
The Trayvon thing angered me.
Okay.
And the Eric Garner thing angered me.
Yeah, they did too.
But I was more desensitized to it for Mike Brown.
Yeah. So a friend of mine gave me this example.
Okay.
And he said that when he grew up in the country, they used to fight dogs.
Okay.
And so when he was here, he was driving down the street and apparently a dog had got hit.
Okay.
And these people pulled over to the side of the road. They're calling the ambulance, animal control and whatnot because they care about this dog. But he like it's just the damn dog, and he just keep on driving about. So the same effect is starting to happen to Black lives.
Okay.
If we're thinking like that, then other people been thinking like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So now you black and you go up in front of a white judge.
Or a jury of your so-called peers.
They're showing the same lack of empathy as my friend had for the dog. Yeah. And so if we're thinking like that, it's somebody on the other end just clapping it up.
Right. Or somebody on the other end providing a GoFundMe page for a murder.
Yeah. They created a GoFundMe page.
Right.
And GoFundMe wasn't happening. They deleted the page, so they moved it over to Indiegogo.
Okay.
Yeah, so people are in support, and it's like giving a reward for killing another one of us.
Exactly.
And just because you ran or even scuffled, the consequence shouldn't be your death.
Yeah, it's resisting arrest. It's not capital punishment.
Like all the people I've seen run away from the police. If the police run and catch them, they just rough them up more, or they just come back and get them later because the police just ran your plates and they got all your information. Yeah. And you could have just ran and like tripped the dude.
Exactly. And we can't really call necessarily what Walter Scott did running.
Yeah.
He could have easily been caught.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be shot in the back.
Right. And so the narrative keeps playing out and it's desensitizing everybody.
Yes.
And it's done in a way, it's done in a propaganda way. It's to poke people. And in journalism school, we had a project where we was talking about censorship and what do you actually show on TV.
Right.
And one man committed suicide at the press conference.
Okay.
This is back in the 80s.
Okay.
And so the news broadcast has a delay in case anything happens that you don't want to show.
Yeah.
So we said, when this broadcast goes out, what do you report and how much do you actually show?
Okay.
And they gave us an example. This is what CBS showed, this is what ABC showed, and this is what NBC showed.
Okay.
Which one handled it correctly? This is all about ethics and censorship.
Okay.
So why would the news continually show a dead body? Like they've been showing an actual execution on national TV.
Yeah.
And what kind of emotion or fear are they trying to portray? What are they trying to instill in people psychologically?
Right.
Like they're trying to instill even a greater fear for us in the police.
Right.
And they're trying to polarize America.
Right.
It's already been there, but now it's being stimulated.
It's right in your face.
Yeah, and why would you show that on TV?
Why would you show somebody getting murdered on national television? Is a good question.
Yeah. So
I don't have the answer for.
That's just something you have to ask yourself. What's the purpose? What's the agenda behind it? Yeah. And I've heard conspiracy theorists come out and point out a few things, but as far as the video goes, but I don't want to get into that. But one of the things that a conspiracy theorist told me is that they're egging people on to start a race war.
Okay.
But so this narrative is been coming out in the media. This always happened in America.
Right.
In the national press.
Right, exactly.
They try to paint this picture that black people are violent.
Right. When we're not a violent people at all.
Yeah, we're peaceful people.
We're peaceful people.
So you're not going to get a war out of us.
No, you're not.
Yeah, the aggressive people, the ones that are aggressing us, would be the violent culture.
The violent culture, yeah. The people that are killing people in the street would be the violent culture.
So I call conspiracy theory like a white people consciousness.
Okay.
That's what I call it.
Okay.
And so war would be on their mind.
Okay.
And they think that we think like they think. And they also have bought into this narrative of the violent black person.
Right.
So another thing that people don't know is that
Mike Brown felt like the Incredible Hulk, and I was a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Talking about that type of talk.
And this is not an adult.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't an adult, and they was already criminalizing like defamation of character of a child.
Yes.
Calling them thug. Thug is like the new code word for nigga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this guy gets shot. First thing comes out, it's all his child support cases.
Right.
Behind on child support. Try to criminalize him that way.
Right.
Now the sick thing about this is he was a veteran. He was in the military. And the guy that shot him was also ex-military.
Ex-military, okay.
Yeah. So all that came out about him, but all the files that about the officer, he has other abuses of power documented.
Okay.
Yeah, for messing with people, like tasing people to search their house without having a search warrant. But anyway, so you're not gonna get that out of black folks, because black folks are scary and black folks love white people more than you think.
And it's not, and it's not even a fact of getting it out of them. We're a peaceful culture. We always have been since the beginning of the time. Black people, descendants of Africa, have always been a peaceful people. And if you were going to get any kind of violence out of us, you would have had violence out of us a long time before now. You know, I heard somebody say that if you want to get black people to be violent, just go around the black community with your nightstick and start busting out windows.
Yeah.
Or their cars. Yeah. So we're not a violent people. We never have been, and we won't be.
Yeah, and so you also have in this conscious movement, in this Black Power movement, you got militant people who say that got to get armed,
right,
or whatever. But that's been going on since Martin Luther King's day. He was talking about when he first linked up with Stokely Carmichael.
Right.
And Stokely Carmichael was gung-ho, and he wanted like everybody to arm themselves to do something. But Martin Luther King was like, no, you can't win that battle. Yeah, because they already got more guns than they got a military.
They make guns.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can get guns all day. We don't even make our own bullets.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
So, but one thing he did say is the good thing about the militancy was when you think of a military person, when you think of the military, you need things from the whole process of becoming a military. It's like you need like the discipline and the
strategy.
You need the discipline and the strategy and how you go about removing obstacles out your way. And he was like, the internal things that you have to do to become an excellent soldier.
Right, okay.
He was like, we need that for ourselves.
Okay.
And we also need not call it Black Power.
Right.
Because when you're trying to empower yourself, you need the help of other people, and by you calling it Black Power, you end up alienating yourself from the people that's there to help you.
Yeah, your allies.
Yeah, because the white supremacy and racism does exist, but it's people that's not down with that. They want to help you out. That you will be alienating yourself from.
Most definitely, we know them.
Yeah.
We know a few white people who are down for the cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not a part of white supremacy because white supremacy is a system, not a people.
Yeah, like I didn't own slaves. My family didn't. Like, duh, because you in the same boat as me. You
Exactly.
Ain't got shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're all most of the people that we know are middle class, and they're trying to elevate themselves to a higher level.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all trying to elevate ourselves to a higher level. Therefore, you have no enemies. You have people who are against you, who are trying to stop you from elevating to that level, and you have people who are for you, that are your allies, and they're working for you to get to those levels.
Yeah, and so the things that's happening in America is similar to what happened in Nazi Germany.
Okay.
So like this big propaganda and public relations campaign came out to demonize the image of the Jews in Germany and Austria.
Exactly.
And it happened for so long, and it was so repetitive that people started to believe it.
Right.
And when Hitler came and got all the Jews and sent them to the concentration camps and the Holocaust started, do you know that was legal?
Yes.
Yeah, like they had created laws around this stigma that was produced to legalize the Holocaust.
Right, exactly.
And so the same thing is happening in America.
Yeah.
So we see the PR campaign to demonize the image of black people. And so now these laws are being made.
Right.
So it's like how do you play this game on the chessboard?
Okay.
So it's like, what's the most powerful piece on the chessboard?
Queen.
The most powerful piece on the chessboard is the hand that moves the pieces. That's how I look at it.
That's dope. That's a dope analogy.
Yeah. So
That's a dope analogy.
and so like
Yes.
the answers and the solutions take physical work.
Okay.
But these are social concepts that we are up against.
Yes.
And that takes mind power.
Yes.
So all this has to happen in your mind. We need thinkers that turn to knowers.
And knowers that turn to doers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you have to defeat a social condition, and it's done through culture.
Yes.
And this is something. So when we say this has been happening in America for hundreds of years, it comes out because it happened in South Carolina.
Yes, the start.
So this shooting happened in South Carolina, and ironically enough, that's where the police started.
Yes.
In South Carolina. So and it happened in 1700, 1704 is when they had their first slave patrol, their official slave patrol, state sanctioned slave patrol.
1704.
1704. So you had the Carolina colony. There was no North Carolina and South Carolina yet.
Right.
And they produced this to harass black people who didn't have their papers or permission papers to leave the plantation.
Right.
So it was an incentive for the white community to harass them and then eventually hand them back over to their owners. And they would receive benefits like, oh, you get extra tobacco, you might get a award, a cash award.
Exactly.
But that was created because Carolina at the time, the black population had increased to where it was more black people than white people.
Right.
So it was a protection thing because they're like, if we did this to them, then they're gonna start an insurrection. They're gonna want some get back.
Exactly.
Yeah, but still a little peaceful. So they started doing it on holidays.
Okay.
Because that was the day off, and they said during holidays, that's when black people congregated and started trying to plan a revolt.
Right.
So
you had the time to.
Yeah. So they would break that up. And if you've seen groups of three or four black people, the slave patrol would come break that up.
Right.
Because they think they're up to something.
Up to something. Yes.
If you didn't have your papers.
If you don't have your papers.
So it started with slave patrols, and the community would watch them. because the whole community would be involved in this, and this is where community watch starts.
Right.
And so once people got on the slave patrol and it became a 24/7 thing, the people in the slave patrol would get benefits such as tax incentives, tax breaks. They would get surplus from the state, and they would, they would ride on horseback.
Yeah, they get to ride on horses
in groups.
Yeah,
to come patrol the black community.
Right.
Make sure everything was even keeled.
Yeah, make sure nobody was planning anything against their masters.
Yeah.
Protection of property.
Yeah. And so then the Civil War came, and they were afraid that a lot of these people were gonna, instead of having to run all the way to Canada, when the Union Army got close to the Confederacy, they would think that the slaves would just run and join the Union Army.
Exactly.
And they were being prompted to.
Yeah.
Because France and England, since the war in 1776, they was funding both sides to make the states break up.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you could run to either one. You could run to Florida.
Yeah.
The Spanish was like, we'll give you land to join the Spanish to make America fall. And then you had Canada, which is in control of the French, and the British. And so when the Union Army got closer, they got afraid of that. And the people that was in the slave patrols and the plantation owners had to go fight in the war. They had to go fight for the Confederate Army. Right. So people that couldn't be in the army became their new slave patrol. Okay. And then the Union Army won. Okay. And the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Right. And slavery was no longer in effect for them to have a slave patrol, and that's when the slave patrol turned into the police department. Gotcha. Yeah, and that's when it became state sanctioned and local government. Okay. And so for you to have law enforcement, you need laws to enforce. So that's when the slave codes were invented. That was actual legislation. So they would make all these laws aimed at black people. So they had all these laws aimed at black people, and so the slave patrol could go enforce those laws on black people. Right. So now those same laws still exist. Not those laws per se, but the same intention is behind laws. Right, that exist now for everyone. Yeah, so that's not just for black people. Black people are disproportionately affected by it. Right. But these new laws apply to everybody. Everybody, right. And the law books get bigger and bigger and bigger to have more laws to enforce. Till you have it that America has the biggest prison population in the world. Yes. It's like 2 or 3 million people in prison. Yeah. And then people that's under any kind of people that has any kind of penalties or punishments, such as like probation or parole or things like that. That's like 6 million, 7 million. Right. Yeah. Right. And this is bigger than that's higher than like actual communist takeovers in other countries. That's more than Russia when they had the Gulag. Yeah. That's more than China when they had the Chinese revolt. Yes. Yeah. We have more people in prison in the history of the world right now. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to me that you went back to the slave patrols, because it's like, okay, so once they're converted over to the police, you have these people with the same mentality. Yes. But now they're policing everybody. Yes. So what we're saying is you have people with the mentality of protecting property, now policing the police. Yes. Now policing the people. Right. Right. So that takes me back to myself. Yeah. Now, I was in a car accident in 2000, coming home from college. And I got in the car accident, and I'm sitting on the side of the road, and I'm waiting for the police to get there. And the police finally arrive. And the guy tells me that we don't do traffic violations. Okay. Because our sergeant won't let us. He said that if someone's house is broken into and they are on a wreck call or a, I guess, traffic violation call, they will get criticized. Yeah. Or the sergeant will call them in the wrong for doing a traffic violation.
So in turn, he said he would call the state trooper, and I would have to wait there for the state trooper.
Yeah.
And he would wait with me.
Okay.
15 minutes later, he was gone. And I had to wait 2 hours for the state trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's right back to the protection of property.
Yeah.
It's not about protecting and serving, because I was on the edge of the highway.
Yeah.
Nobody there. Where's my protection?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not protecting and serving me. Yeah, you're protecting the property.
So I had a car wreck,
Mm-hmm.
and when I had to go before the judge for a reckless driving charge,
Mm-hmm.
I hit a pole,
Okay.
and he said, "What damage was done to the pole?" And I was like, "No damage. It's just a little paint on it."
Right.
And it was like, "Is it cleaned up?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, and so he was lenient on me according to the damage of the pole.
Damage to the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting. And in Ferguson, the police set up to protect the businesses.
Businesses, right.
Yeah, and not the neighborhood,
Not the people.
because they are here to protect and serve property now.
Property, yes.
Yeah, so that would take it back to the slave patrols, because they was protecting and serving property.
The property.
Because when the protocols for the punishment was things like was like beatings and whippings.
Weapons, yep.
But you couldn't go but so far on it, because that was still somebody's
It
property.
was somebody's property, and they would have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so you had that. The first protocol was questioning.
Mm-hmm.
Questioning over your paper.
Right.
Whole bunch of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the worst punishment other than death was sent directly to the auction block.
Right.
To separate you
From your family.
From your family. So you see that intent still inherent
Mm-hmm.
in police today.
Yes.
Yeah. Questions over your paperwork.
Mm-hmm. Where's your license and registration?
There's your license and registration.
How far do you live from here?
Yeah. Then you have the brutality to be equivalent to the beatings and the whippings.
Yes.
And then you have directly to jail.
Directly to jail.
No trial. You get a trial later,
Right.
but we're taking you
Jail.
directly to jail.
Right.
And if guilty, we're going to ship you to a prison
Yep.
out of state.
Out of state.
Therefore, separate you from your family.
Yep.
And this is a colonizing thing. This is things that happen in colonies under white supremacy and
Right.
institutional racism.
Right. Exactly.
Because in Africa, they didn't have prisons.
No.
It's a different culture.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful culture.
Right.
Yeah. And so we see everything repeating itself. So these are things that we have to combat.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why we preach about being empowering yourself through economics.
Economics, yes.
So you can, but we can't make excuses for the police, because I saw that on Facebook.
Okay.
And you see that people are actually putting their money behind it with the GoFundMe page.
Yes.
And so people are making excuses for the cop,
Mm-hmm.
because most likely he won't get indicted.
Most likely.
Yeah, and instead of getting mad and blaming the system,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have the same mentality about us.
Exactly.
We have to be aware and cognizant of the role that we play in our own struggle.
Right.
Yeah, like so they try to criminalize him by saying that he didn't pay his child support.
Mm-hmm.
But we should frown upon that ourselves before it even gets to the police.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I
we have to recognize the problems that we have on ourselves with building families.
Right.
Because this is a form of nation building,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't build a nation without families.
Can't build a nation without families.
Yeah. So we have to identify
Mm-hmm.
and heal the sickness that makes us want to be separate.
Okay.
I mean, nobody wants to be separate, but
Right.
that's the result of what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then another thing, like we have a lot of crime in our community, and of course it's
in the impoverished
in the
areas.
impoverished area.
Right.
And that's a result of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And poverty happened because of what we said before.
Exactly.
But we have to be real with ourselves. It's when it's us killing us.
Yes.
Yeah. So like when you say what about black on black crime in a situation like this, that's insensitive and that's the wrong time to use that term.
Right.
But after tensions calm down and you go back to your community, that's something that you have to address.
You address that with your family, as you said.
Yeah.
It's athletes have this phrase: what goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that we have to have in the black community.
Yeah.
What goes on in the black community stays in the black community.
Yeah, it's like family. I consider it family business.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's family business. And when you go outside of your family
Mm-hmm.
to solve your family problems,
Mm-hmm.
for somebody that's not in your family,
Right.
a solution to them is a solution to them,
Right.
which may not be a solution to you.
For us.
The
Right.
solution may further exacerbate the problem.
The problem. Right.
Without ever actually solving the root.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot, for instance, so let's say they want to stop crime in this impoverished area.
Mm-hmm.
To them, a solution is increase the sentence,
Right.
which is not a solution.
It's not a solution at all.
Yeah, all it does is extend the problem.
Exactly.
It's not even a band-aid. It's actually a worse problem.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. When actually you should keep that in your family.
Right.
We should be solving problems amongst ourselves before we even do stuff like call the police.
Most definitely. Michelle Alexander kicked that in her book.
Okay.
About how before us, the propaganda was that the Irish were bad.
Right.
And they did all the things that they could to support the Irish in becoming better citizens.
Yeah.
Well, we are in that same situation where the propaganda is being shown as us as bad.
Okay.
But we're not having the opportunities to support our community. Because for one, the thing that's hindering us is the fact that we have a crab in the barrel mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And one of the beautiful things about that analogy to me is, and I think you might have been the one that brought this up to me. Crabs in the barrel always pull people down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And how is a crab in that atmosphere able to do that? Like, he should be pushing people up.
Yeah.
But what you have to understand is that's not a crab's natural habitat.
Yeah.
That's not natural to a crab.
Right.
And then if we're not in a system that's not natural to us, we have to go around the things that are being presented to us in order to push people out of the barrel.
Yeah.
If you understand my analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm basically saying is, if you're in a system that's holding you down, or you're in a system that's outside of your realm of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do everything in your power to lift the people in your community up who deserve to be lifted.
Yeah.
And you have, and in turn, you have to shut the people out who
Mm-hmm.
deserve to be shut out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So like you, I did kick that to you a while ago. So it's like, they say crabs in the barrel,
Mm-hmm.
but crabs ain't supposed to be in the barrel.
Crab's not supposed to be in the
So
barrel.
when a crab gets dropped in the barrel, the first thing they think is like, where am I at?
Right.
And what am I doing here?
Exactly.
And so we figured out where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting to come around with what am I doing here?
Right.
And so we're about to get to that point where we're pulling people out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and some people, and we're setting ourselves up to be in positions to help our communities.
We are.
Yeah, so like so we can do it with controlling the narrative
Mm-hmm.
with shows like this.
Right.
So we can relate the information back to why it's important to you.
Exactly.
And then we can create businesses
Mm-hmm.
so we can help ourselves out.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to pull all those resources together.
Right.
Like when we get our money, the first thing we want to do is get out of our community.
Right.
All we have to do is get out of the impoverished area. But we have to create opportunities to get other people out of the impoverished area and heal the poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Because poverty isn't natural either.
Right.
That's a created condition.
It's crazy.
It's a social condition.
Right.
Poverty is a social disease.
Yes.
Yeah. It needs to be healed.
Shout out to Esranice. She's in the chat room. She wants us to talk about our shirts. We will.
Okay. Talk about your shirt.
My shirt is designed by Jay Martin, which is myself. It's a Be Contrary brand, and it's why. And that's the question that I ask myself every time, please get behind me. Wow.
My shirt.
Yeah.
Let's see. My shirt is Marcus Garvey. Yeah.
Yes.
Marcus Garvey. He united the most black people in America.
Yes.
In what was it, the 30s?
Yeah, the movement, which all other movements are based on, pretty much.
Yeah, so they're all based on Marcus Garvey's movement.
Yeah.
And Marcus Garvey united 2 million black people.
Yes.
And the goal was for us to leave America and go start our own state in Africa, which is Liberia.
Yes.
And that's where
through the Black Star Line. And what thwarted him was an agent hired by J. Edgar Hoover. That was his first big project. Yes.
To diffuse the energy in the UNIA and to eliminate Marcus Garvey.
Right, which he felt was a threat to the country.
Yeah, black people leaving America was a threat. Was a national threat to America.
Yep.
Yeah, and so he got an agent. He got one of his own people to rat him out.
Yes. What is it? Agent 81? What is it?
I forgot. I read a profile on him the other day. Didn't even think about printing it out.
Right.
But they got Marcus Garvey exported to Jamaica. But all the movements start with him and based on him because Malcolm X's parents were Garveyites.
Garveyites, yes.
Yeah, and so Malcolm X had some of this instilled in him
already,
even though he did have a criminal past.
Right.
But that's probably why when the Nation of Islam came to him, it resonated a little bit better.
Right.
Yeah. And so
Elijah Muhammad's parents were Garveyites too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so back to the media and this devil that we created out of white supremacy and institutional racism by making it devil. So like just think about like why would they allow Louis Farrakhan to go on TV and say stuff like the white man is the devil? Why would they allow him to do that? Why would they allow him to talk about religion and theology? Right. And just that, like, you are allowed to do these things. If it was that powerful of a message, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. No. Because you're still beefing up this narrative, this devil narrative that turns into a defeatist doctrine of why we do it. Right. But one thing that you can't go out there and preach about is how much farmland the Nation of Islam has. Yes. And how did they get it? Right. Or how many sciences that they have. And how many, a whole history department. Yes. They got, the Nation of Islam has a lot of farmland. Yes. He can't get up there and preach about how they establish their own economy and do business with itself. And how he can get up there and talk all the junk he wants to, and you can't do nothing about it because they created their own economy and it's self-sufficient. Can't get up there and preach that. Yep. You can't. You can talk about Marcus Garvey. Right. Talk about his movement. Right. But can't talk about those ships. Exactly. He owned the ships. He owned those ships. Had a whole cruise line. He owned it. Bought that. Yep. By creating your own economy. Yep. And you preserved your own culture. And they was about to leave. Yep. Yeah. We talk about who another person they got. Dr. York. They got Dr. York. Trumped up charges. Yep. They don't talk about how much real estate Dr. York had. He was in one of the worst parts of Brooklyn. Bought both sides of the street off books. And now it was no longer a criminal place. Right. Yeah, he healed the poverty in the place. Right, exactly. Yeah, and then came down to Georgia and did the same thing. Built some pyramids and everything. Came and got them. They destroyed the community. NASA, they done turned the pyramids, destroyed them. Now it's a hunting lodge. Really? Yeah. Yeah, we can't get up there and preach that because that's the powerful message that's needed. Yeah. Creating your own economy and making it self-sufficient. What do you need in capitalistic society? Capital. Yeah. Right. So what's the biggest thing that the devil did? What's the biggest thing? Convince the people that he wasn't real. Right. Yeah. So when you get up here and you talk about we'll let you talk about
all this stuff until you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
You can call me the devil.
Uh-huh.
You can say anything. I'm talking about me as a person. Let's talk about me as a person.
Yeah.
Jay Martin.
Uh-huh.
All right. You can get up there and you can say anything you want about me.
Yeah.
You can talk about I'm a loser. You can say I'm the devil.
Uh-huh.
You can talk about all this negative stuff about me. Some of it might be true. Some of it might be false. But if you're not stopping my check from coming in, why do I care?
Yeah. And
why should I care?
And to add on to that, you know, the biggest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he wasn't real.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had added to that a little while ago. I said the biggest trick he pulled was you thinking that it's his fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's bigger than convince you that he's not real.
Yeah.
It's like, is it his fault?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cause somebody created him too.
Somebody created him too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in, I can't remember what verse, but it's in the book of Isaiah where God said, I created peace and I created evil. I'm responsible for both of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, the devil didn't exist is one thing, but it's not his fault.
Right.
He was created to do what he does.
Right.
And so we have to apply that to the mentality that we started off with.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's all full circle.
So, if I understand the analogy correctly, what you're saying is, if these two things are created, they are created to get you in a place, and they're created to get you out of a place.
Yeah.
So if we use that energy,
yeah,
we can not only get into a place, but we can also get out of a place.
Yeah.
And that place might be the system that we're in now.
Yeah.
You can get out of that place using the strategies.
Right.
And taking those strategies and executing on those strategies to get out of the position you're in, which is systematic poverty,
yeah,
into a higher level of economics.
Yes.
And in turn, taking that economics and that capital that you built,
yes,
circling it throughout your community,
yes,
and then everybody rises up.
Right.
So you can take the crabs in the barrel analogy. Not only do you get out the barrel, but you take the barrel with you.
Yeah.
And throw all the money in while you walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight back to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, now that Hollywood's on it, it's gonna become popular.
Right.
They're gonna turn that into pop.
Right, exactly.
And
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. And so the natural focus of the person that looks at it negatively was like, no, we gotta keep it focused on this is what the devil really is.
Right.
Right? So that's what it turns into. But we have to be conscientious enough to let that go pop while we shift our focus on the next line of business, which is what you just said.
Right.
Yeah, so economics and self-empowerment is going to become the new.
Exactly. Because if he had the money, Walter Scott, he had the money to pay the child support.
Right.
I'm just saying, I'm assuming, okay, I'm presenting a picture where he didn't have the money to pay.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had the money or not.
Yeah.
But let's say that just a person didn't have the money to pay their child support.
Yeah.
All right. And didn't have the money to get their tail light fixed.
Uh-huh.
Right. Now you're in a position to do those things with your capital.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be harassed by the police.
Yeah.
When the police get behind you, they type it in their little keyboard. They see that all your stuff is legit, and they let you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's economics.
That's economics. That's the power of it.
That's the power of it. Exactly.
We are in a position. We are always in a position to control our own destiny.
Yes. Without a doubt.
Yes, and we have to create a new condition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's your biggest guide given power. Your ability to create.
Okay.
So you have to have the vision. You see it in your head.
Without a doubt.
And you have to create something that's not there.
Right.
You just produce the resource out of your own mind.
Out of your own mind, right.
They're brought in capital. They're brought in currency.
Yes.
Currency is energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a current.
Right. It's a current. Right.
Yeah. So you create something out of your own mind, make it manifest in the physical to draw in energy. Like, how godly is that?
That is God.
That's called that's spiritual in its highest physical form.
Yes.
You created something that wasn't there and it attracted energy, and it uplifted the lives of other people.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. That's the whole. That's the purpose of spirituality. So you can do stuff like that. Yeah. Anything else? We got anybody in the chat room?
We got a few people here. We don't have any questions though.
Okay.
I'll put some out though. Keep going.
So to create something out of nothing is the highest form of spirituality. And when you look at let me find the definition of spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nate who's watching.
And I was actually having a conversation with
shout out to Bruce.
I was having a conversation with a cop on Facebook.
Okay.
And another thing is and I posed this. I said that we have a stigma against police in our community to the point where we discourage our children from getting in the police force.
Yes.
Like once we build our resources up, we do need to start policing ourselves. But in the transition, we should have people from our community in the police department.
Yes, without a doubt.
So, because they have a better understanding of your condition. And I was like, so you got good cops, you got bad cops. And when I think about my interactions with the police, I was like, what traits do the good cops have?
Right.
And the good cops had people skills.
Yes.
They had tact.
Right.
Yeah. So police had pulled me over and let me go because I explained my situation, and they totally understood the situation.
Right.
And okay, he's not all the way in the right, but I will only be hurting people by enforcing this law.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, because we have to have discernment and judgment. Yeah, it can be nipped in the bud a whole lot earlier.
Right. Shout out to the miracle for watching.
Let's see.
Yeah, I found an interesting thing about my interactions with cops, because I've had interactions with two different type of cops. I've had interactions with cops who are all and out assholes, and I've had interactions with cops who are just cool.
Yeah.
And the one thing, the few things that I found, the different. Oh, that's what's up. Shout out to the miracle. She said what we're talking about is very enlightening.
Okay.
So the few things that I found out was, like you said, it had tact.
Yeah.
And another thing that I found out was the ones who just wanted to do their job and do their job efficiently were cool with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't have a problem with you if you're just doing your job.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm going 85 and 35.
Right.
And, I know I'm wrong. Yeah. But you don't have to come up to my car holding your pistol.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me before.
Yeah.
And I've had a cop come up to me and just be cool, like, sir, you do know that you were going 85 and a 35. And I was like, yeah, sorry. Trying to get to graduation. And he was like, I gotta write you this ticket, but get there safely.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question. Got a question.
Okay.
What use would the body cameras on police officers really help? And that question comes from Carice Bates. What else, sis?
So, you see the way that we already have video,
right?
And you see how it's being weaponized and used against people's psychology,
right?
So the body cams, if we got them on, if the police use body cams, and when the police did something wrong, if the consequences was enforced on them, then it would be a good thing.
Okay.
But the way that the video is being used that we're already getting, police body cams will just be another tool to make people angry. Like, we saw the police do this wrong, we saw them do this wrong, still gonna do nothing about it.
Okay.
So it's just gonna be, cause we got video of this.
Right.
And it still won't matter.
Right.
Had video on Mike Brown, still would. You had Eric Garner.
Right.
You had the whole thing.
Had Eric Garner, like, dead to rights.
Yeah. Still didn't matter.
Did not
so
matter.
a body cam won't matter.
Right. Right.
It's just be footage to make you angry.
Exactly. Or it could be used to enforce the effectiveness of police action.
Yeah.
So you got sergeants sitting in their offices watching the body cams and how effective you are as a police officer.
Yeah.
So that in turn can enforce the agenda.
Yeah.
And also we seem to think that a camera doesn't have a cutoff button.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think body cams are the
I
answer.
lost the video. Oh, I forgot to cut on my body cam.
Dang! I was chasing them,
Yeah.
and the body cam fell off.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. So we already talked about the history of the police department,
Right.
In the aggressive culture
Right.
of the people that created it.
Right.
So we already have the police have became an occupying force,
Right.
a military occupying force
Mhm.
in the black community.
Okay.
So what does the military already do with videos? They take the video, they sit in the war room,
Yeah,
and they just improve the way that they can do war.
Exactly.
That's what a body camera do.
Yeah.
It'll improve how they can enforce the law
Right.
and not help you.
And not him.
Yeah, like it's why would we expect the police to police themselves?
But okay, and this is another interesting thing too. You know, police mob up.
Right.
They're like a big gang.
Yeah.
So we can't expect body cams to help or hurt. It's
Right.
just going to be another tool.
Yeah. And like you said, they're a gang. So like, I'm at my mom's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just standing on the porch, you know, just looking at how beautiful the day is.
Right.
And then 4 police in plain shirts said gang unit on the back. They just walked through the front yard with the shotguns out. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
on some
my
Wild
goodness.
Wild West stuff. Like had on the combat boots, fatigue pants,
Just walking through.
t-shirts, just walking through the neighborhood with the shotguns out. Yeah, they are. It's a military occupying force.
And that in itself is propaganda.
Yeah.
That is telling you if you do something wrong,
Right.
we out here
Yeah.
with shotguns.
Yeah.
So don't mess up.
Talking about the gang unit.
Right.
Yeah, like the gang in the neighborhood was family. They
Exactly.
not fighting each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so they just come walking through with the shotgun out.
Got another question.
What's that?
This is from NDP 002, which happens to be a police officer. Nate, what's up, Nate? Have y'all seen how the media likes to emphasize on the headlines? White officer kills black male. The media seems to want to continue this race war.
Right.
Right.
So in journalism school,
Mm-hmm.
they teach you how to write headlines,
Right.
and how to write your entry line.
Right. Okay.
So the headline has to capture attention.
Right.
You know, so the example he gave, that's the sensationalizing.
Right.
Off gate.
Right.
We got a bunch of racial tension,
Mhm.
and everybody has an emotion,
Right.
had a strong emotion in
Right.
America about race.
Exactly.
So when you put that racial conflict in the headline,
Mm-hmm.
boom, you got an emotional connection to it already.
Right.
And then in your first 2 lines,
Mhm.
it'll tell you the slant and the angle of where they're gonna go with it.
Right.
So we have to, the first 2 lines we write,
Mhm.
it has to lock you in. Now we got your attention.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it's used for.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then we can tell the rest of the story
Right.
in as few words as possible.
Right.
Yeah, but he also so like they're trying to stimulate something
Mhm.
because it's the media.
Right.
Yeah, the media is a spiritual thing too.
Okay.
Media is Latin for middle.
Okay.
In English, media is a plural word.
Right.
It's plural for medium. What was a medium? Before we even started talking about news and broadcast,
Mhm.
a medium was the middleman for spiritual realm to the physical realm.
Okay.
So if you wanted to know what your dead ancestor was saying, you go to the medium.
Okay.
And the medium is the middleman to communicate from the spiritual plane to the physical.
Okay.
So the
Call them
media,
pastors.
yeah. So the media does the same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just not full of hocus pocus like you would think.
Right.
But they are trying to communicate.
Mhm.
They're trying to communicate a message to your spirit
Mhm.
to where you're not even thinking about
Right.
it anymore.
Right.
then it becomes a part of you.
Right.
So you can either counteract that with our own media, or you can just cut off the TV and program yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it's called programming. The shows that they have is called programming. They're trying to program you with something.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a different thinking on that. My thing was, you need clicks.
Yeah.
Race brings clicks.
Yeah.
Just race is like Johnny Manziel.
Right.
If ESPN want people to click on their website so they can get advertisers to pay, advertisement money, they put Johnny Manziel up there.
Yeah.
Or they put Tim Tebow, or they put Brett Favre.
Yeah.
That's why we get all that during the year in ESPN. We get Johnny Manziel, Brett Favre, Tim Tebow, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's why we get those things, because it brings clicks.
Yeah.
So when you put white officer kills black male, it brings about clicks. And the more clicks you get, the more advertising dollars you get.
Yeah.
It's inciting the people.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, and then another thing is another thing that would make it seem that your police force is aggressive is because it generates revenue.
Right.
So now you done attach this revenue stream to law enforcement, and you have a lot of counties and cities that they would be hurting if people weren't out there writing tickets. Like, boom, when I went to court during the recession, right, that courtroom was packed out the door.
Okay.
And I said, well, there ain't no recession in here.
Not even.
And they talked about that in Ferguson. How many millions of dollars was being generated by the police?
Okay.
Harassing one section of the community.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got a 75% black community.
Okay.
And you got 1 or 2 black police officers. And they just
keep going.
They just keep ticketing the same community. So where that community you displaced, you took millions of dollars of this one community's revenue and gave it to a racist government. And that was the function of racist police in that community.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's happening in Durham.
Yes, without a doubt.
Guess what I ain't seen since I moved to this side of town?
What haven't you seen?
I haven't seen a roadblock.
You know what's interesting? Now,
I've been here for 8 years.
Driving from here to my house, I have never got caught in the roadblock.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I used to get caught in roadblocks all the time.
Yeah.
But driving from here to my house, I have never once got caught in a roadblock. Because you can see them, like you see all the lights, and you drive up on them. They ask for your license and registration, make sure your tags are correct, and they let you go on through. Right. I haven't seen one.
I haven't seen that since I've been here.
Right.
8 years. Versus on my mom's side of town. Versus on my mom's side of town, like police stopped me saying, "Oh, you didn't come to a complete stop.
Right.
You did a rolling stop." And I'm like, "What?
Right.
Where's your contraband? Let me check the car."
Yes.
So they ran in, checked my car. Oh, we ain't find nothing. Just peel out. And I'm still there with the doors open, like, what in the hell just happened?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I haven't had that. What's this?
That's another question for you. A comment more so. I'm gonna let you read that.
I have more of a comment rather than a question. I understand that we as a community have the tendency to be labeled as violent, but just as the early colonies fought Great Britain as self-defense for a better future, I believe that we do the same. Unfortunately, the way that we retaliate sometimes isn't conducive to progress. Instead of resorting to violence, I believe that we should educate ourselves as a whole. There will always be a dark cloud, some sort of negativity towards our culture, but I find comfort in knowing that Jesus endured the same thing. Think about it. He was the ultimate black sheep. He got condemned for doing what was right, and when he could have easily gotten off the cross or stopped them before they even spit at him or whipped them. I say all that to say, at the end of the day, we're in good company. We just have to be smart as a whole, understand our purpose, and make moves in a positive direction. Cool. I think that's kind of what we were trying to get the gist on. Yeah.
I think that's what we were kind of get the gist on.
We done repeated the same sentiment several different ways throughout this show.
Exactly.
We have a we have the example. This shooting is just the example to give the message context.
Exactly.
Stops us from going all over the place.
Right.
So we just tell you the different facets of what just happened in this thing.
Exactly.
Because most people will see it and they won't understand or even think of all these facets. They just see this. They just see it one thing. They just people have the way that the educational system in America educates its people. It only teaches you linear thinking and not global and holistic thinking. So you have to look at this. You have to look at this situation as a holistic entity. And once you look at it from a holistic way, you see how it affects your whole being of existence. Versus just one way, like, oh yeah, just a shot, it's racism, and then just leave it alone. Yeah. So and then another thing about education is when she said that we have to educate ourselves. We do have to do that, but you have to have the correct education.
Yes, without a doubt.
Because the things that we thought would help us as black people, we always said, what's the answer to our problem? Get more education. What's the answer to our problem? We need more black people in politics.
Okay.
What's the answer to our problem? Black people got to get more money. All right. So we have the highest amount of educated black folks we've ever had in this country.
In the history of this country, yes.
We have the most amount of black politicians we ever had in this country.
Okay.
And we also have the most expendable income we ever had in the history of this country.
Right.
And we're still experiencing the same conditions.
Yes.
And we still own the same amount of America that we owned when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. It's the same percentages.
A percentage of 1.
Yeah, it's 0.5%. The only black people own 0.5% of the wealth in this country.
Yes, all with that.
With all that education, with all those politicians.
Yep. I agree, Nate. I would be surprised if he didn't get off, but let me say it like this. I wouldn't be surprised if he got off. We've seen this time and time again, even with the Eric Gardner thing. I think that the police have a way, and the system has a way of letting police get the benefit of the doubt in cases like this. So I will say that I think that he won't get off, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I could see a lesser charge, a light sentence, slap on the wrist, cause I mean,
Fruitville Station, perfect example.
Yeah, so like looking at it from, so the police is a part of the executive branch. So looking from the executive branch's perspective, when you crucify one of your own,
right,
what message do you send throughout the entire branch?
Exactly. That was the thing with Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, you
and to stand your ground. You can't go in there and prosecute a law that's on the books.
Yeah.
How are you going to prosecute against a law that's on the books?
Yeah.
So, if you got a man up here inciting stand your ground, and that's a law that's on the books, and he falls under the law, how are you as a prosecutor going to prosecute against the law?
Well, see, that's why I go back to, are we getting the correct education? Because that's also a function of a jury that nobody ever tells you about.
Exactly.
The jury can say guilty, not guilty, or the law is bullshit.
Right.
So we need to change the law, and nobody's at fault. Change the law.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a function of the jury. They don't give you that option.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would send an improper message throughout your branch. So I could understand it, but I think he would get off, and I think it would be covered in a way to make people angry.
Okay.
Yeah. See, they're trying to do something to the psychology of people. They're playing with people's emotions, and people are naturally peaceful, so they're not going to get the result that they're expecting.
Right.
And so when they don't get the result they're expecting, they turn up. Yeah. So each time that black people don't do nothing, like that's really affecting the system, they just gonna up the ante.
Right.
For each situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you already know what we're gonna do. We're gonna get loud. We're gonna get mad. We're gonna protest.
Yep.
They're gonna say something about boycotting South Carolina.
Something about boycotting South Carolina.
Talk about boycotting South Carolina all the way to motherfucking bike weekend. Yeah. And then we be there when they already said they don't want us there for that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's not even in South Carolina anymore.
Yeah, my bad for cussing. Had to get that one. Yeah. Something about that word just flows so smoothly off of the tongue.
You know, Bernie Mac explained that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a noun.
Yeah, it's a noun. Describes a person, place, or thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Black people will say that all over the place.
Yeah.
Poverty, middle class, or higher class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a certain agenda around, and it's to affect people's psychology and emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. You know what shape your spirit is in by the emotions you express, in your ability or inability to control those emotions.
Right.
And so that's what they're poking at.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to be careful about what you take in.
Yes. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
If you're not conscious of what you're taking in, you will succumb to it. Now, if you're aware of what they're trying to kick to your consciousness, and you know how to control your emotions and how to counteract the message within your own self, then it doesn't have that much effect on you.
Right.
Yeah, you affect it back.
Right.
But if you're not consciously or even understand the concepts of how to do that or the concepts of what's happening, you are being played. You are a pawn in it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, so they're shaping your psychology with the news.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. The smartest people I know don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the smartest people I know don't watch TV.
Yeah, I mean,
that's interesting to me.
I done straight up, my doggone, I didn't have cable. I got that antenna TV that President Obama started.
Right.
And my antenna broke, and I ain't replaced my antenna in months. Yeah, I haven't cut on that TV in months.
Yeah.
Yeah, the TV I get is, I watch more TV on social media.
I mean, I watch 2 shows.
Yeah.
Like Brain Games and Flash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Blackness.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful of the content that's going in, because you're trained to be the educational system in America trains you to be a robot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the word robot and the word slave has the same historical origin. And I get into that on another show.
Yeah.
On the origin of the word slave.
Okay.
And how, but at the end of the process, the slave is designed to be a robot.
Right.
This educational system sets you up to be a robot, a working cog in the labor system. And so in computer programming, there goes programming again. Media programming. What goes in is what goes out.
Right.
Yeah. Process in equals process out.
Right.
That's what they taught you in computer programming.
Right.
And the computer can't do anything that you don't tell it.
Right. Exactly.
And so that's what's happening. That's what's going in your head. Yeah. You know, and then you just see all these big flashy colors, and the colors are deliberate to present a certain emotion within you as well.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Which is why the police use those intimidating colors. Big flashing colors.
Yeah, they lie too.
Yeah. Yep. Red, white, and blue equals freedom until it's the police behind you.
And black and white.
Yeah. And black and white, they all have significant meanings. Yeah. Any more questions we have over there?
I think that's it, brother.
That's it?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to wrap the show up.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So once again, thank everybody in the chat room. Thank everybody for watching.
Yeah, you know, hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at IB Einstein. That's IB, the letters IB, underscore EINSTINE.
Right.
Yeah. And so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under that.
All right. You can also find me on Instagram on my website. My website is www.bcontrary. That's BECONTRARE. And you can find me on Instagram at B_Contrary. Same spelling. contrary with an E, not a Y.
This is Invincible TV. That's InvinciBull for Bull City, where the gods are immortal and the people are unstoppable. Peace.
Peace.